Good morning, everybody. We're back. We're here in our little group here in the studio, the True Oldies station in North Palm Beach, Florida. But we're broadcasting all over the place. We've got a lot of other ways to get to you, the channels, YouTube, youtube.com/Earl on Cars, and Facebook. Love to hear from you. We love the phone calls. We've been getting a lot of phone calls. We love phone calls from the ladies and the gentlemen. And we have a female advocate by my side, my co-host, Nancy Stewart, that is begging you ladies out there to call the show. Got a real special offer for you. And in a few minutes, I'll turn the mic over to her, and she'll tell you all about that. But meanwhile, if you've got a chance, the show just started. It's a 2-hour show. It's live radio, folks. That's about as exciting as it gets. I mean, I know live television or maybe even live streaming might be considered pretty exciting too, but talk shows, live radio talk shows is really something that there's not too many left, right? And used to be a lot of them. We make mistakes. We say things that we wish we hadn't said. That's exciting, you know. It's also exciting in the studio. That's the reason they have the disclaimer at the beginning of the show saying they're not responsible for what we say. So that's the reason we think we're unusual. We'd like you to tune us in. We do something that's outrageous, and outrageous is exciting. It's fun, and that's called a mystery shopping report. Stay tuned. It's toward the end of the show. We're on for 2 hours, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Toward the end of the show, the last half hour, we have a mystery shopper that has been inside a car dealership somewhere in the United States. Pennsylvania, actually, today. And we have a live mystery shopping report of a Kia dealership in Pennsylvania. So Agent Lightning, that's the name of that's our, not the real name. That's the undercover name of our undercover agent, Agent Lightning. I went into a Kia dealership in Pennsylvania and pretended to buy a car. She didn't record. Mentally, she recorded. Then she wrote down everything that happened. We named the dealership. We named the salesperson, the sales manager, everything. Real live. And we do this every week. Been doing it for 20 years. So if that is enough to get your attention, I don't expect you to listen to 2 hours of the show, but some people do. I don't think personally that we're all that good, but some people do. But we have a lot of information besides the mystery shopping group. That's kind of like, remember the old days? You folks are old enough to remember the old double-featured movies. There was always a cartoon, sports, news. That's kind of spice up the show. So the mystery shopping word is not only informative, but it spices up the show. The nuts and bolts, the really important part of the show is information. And we provide you with a lot of real life, because we're car dealers. In full disclosure, 100% transparency, we have a car dealership. And in fact, I've been a car dealer since 1968. About 20 years ago, I reformed. I call myself a recovering car dealer now because I look back on the way I sold cars. Kind of shameful, actually. I even wrote a book about it. And so I tell you how not to get ripped off by car dealers. But in addition to that, we tell you how to have your car maintained or repaired without being taken advantage of, and also be accurate and be sure you take good care of your car, but not too good a care where you're wasting your money. So we have Rick Kearney, a certified diagnostic master technician. He's sitting immediately to my right here. And if you have a problem with your car, rather than go in blindly into some repair shop and say, here's my checkbook, I'll sign right here, fix it, put your name and an amount in. I know you don't do that, but I mean, sometimes when you go in there and just say, fix my car, that's basically what you're doing. You'll be taken advantage of. Call Rick, describe your symptoms. I don't mean your symptoms, your car symptoms. And does it squeak? Does it rattle? Does it roll? Does it smell? I mean, there's all sorts of things that are strange about a car. Lights flashing. Why is that light flashing? And that, you know what I'm talking about. So describe that as accurate as you can. You can even send us an audio clip if you want to. You can send it to youtube.com/Earl on Cars. And Rick can listen to it or send him a video clip. You'll watch it or the description. And he can save you a ton of money. I mean, we've had a lot of people call in very, very worried about their car, thinking about trading it in, selling it, or spending a lot of money on it. And Rick says, just don't worry about it. That's not a problem. That's normal. I mean, it's not going to go away, but if you can live with that tick, 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 it's not going to. So you might get really good news, save yourself a lot of money. On the other hand, it might be the other way. You know, that could be serious. You need to get it checked out, and you'll hear what Rick has to say. Really, really good information. Rick Kearney, and you can call Rick directly at 877-960-9960, or call me or Nancy or Stu, my son, sitting across from me. And ask questions about buying a car or leasing a car. 877-960-9960. Write the number down, please, if you haven't got time to call and if you're not driving your car. If you write the number down and you're listening, you'll probably have a question. I mean, everybody's got questions. We have questions. We learn from you. We have a text number, 772-497-6530. A lot of people get a little bit nervous about live radio. I don't blame you. So if you prefer just to text us, we might not get to it in the next 20 minutes, but we'll get to it before the end of the show, and we will address your text. And that text number again is 772-497-6530. I love the anonymous feedback number. And if I don't talk about it, because nobody else has this, I don't think, except us, well, that's not true. A lot of blue chip companies use this number or this URL. It's a web link. And you get on this web link and you can communicate with us, ask us questions, you can attack us, you can swear at us, you can give us information. You can do anything we want, and we don't know who you are. It's totally anonymous. Ultimate privacy. Privacy is the key word. That's a buzzword, privacy. Not enough privacy. Well, we're giving you total privacy with your anonymous feedback.com. YOURANONYMOUS feedback.com. Your anonymousfeedback.com, and we will address those issues, and you can be as candid as you want. Some people use it just to ask a question, they tell us who they are anyway. I mean, it's a good way to get through. It's about like a text if you don't want to be anonymous, but we cannot find out, no matter when you send it in, we don't know where you sent it from. It goes through a screening machine of some kind that you couldn't beat it out of us because we don't know your name or identity. We don't know where you are, who you are. Your anonymousfeedback.com. Okay, I'm going to give that number out one more time because we prefer the number. Nancy Stewart, to my left, she monitors all the calls. They go through Jeremy in the control room, and they go on her laptop, and she sees who's calling, and we have a limited number of lines, about 5, and so we address the calls immediately. So if we had a call waiting now, Nancy would tap me on the shoulder or throw something at me, and I'd look over at her, and she would put you on the line. So you don't have to wait that long. At least we're trying very, very hard. 877-960-9960. 877-960-9960. And as I said, here's a very special offer for you ladies that are listening. If you haven't listened to the show before and you are female, you have a really, really cool offer that Nancy's going to tell you about right now.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Earl on Cars. You're going to have a ball for the next 2 hours and learn a lot, and we learn a lot from you. You are a big part of the show, and we thank you for joining us. I'm going to start off with Earl's latest column that you would most enjoy, and it's most common mistakes servicing and repairing your car. you can go to Earl on Cars and you can read the column, or you can find it in the Hometown News or in the Florida Weekly. So it's a great read, as always, and there are so many others on that website, Earl on Cars. Ladies, this morning I have $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Give us a call and win yourself $50 this morning. And, some of the things that I talk about week in and week out is doing your homework. So important. Because unfortunately, walking into a car dealership with no plan in place, it just leaves you wide open for potentially unsavory sales tactics. So do your homework, find out what you want, what you can afford, and there's no place like Consumer Report to go to, first of all. And also Edmunds. You can go to edmunds.com. You can go to Kelley Blue Book. There are just a lot of options for you to take advantage of and to prepare yourself to purchase a vehicle. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And as Earl said, don't forget, youranonymousfeedback.com. We're going to go straight to Howard, who's been holding. I think he's still there. Nope, he hung up. Okay, Howard, give us a call back. Sorry to make you wait that long. We're going to go to David. David is calling us from, let's see, where is he calling us from? He's calling us from
Southern Arabia?
He's calling
Yemen.
us from Texas. Hi, David. Welcome.
Oh, hi. You talking to me?
Yeah,
yes,
we got
David.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're in
Yeah.
Texas, huh?
Actually, at the moment, I'm in Florida. I drive regularly between West Texas and South Florida,
Great.
and I go through, obviously Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, as well as Florida and Texas, and all the way through Florida and all the way through Texas, because where I go in Texas is close to El Paso. And I'm hoping to buy a slightly used Ford pickup, and I have some, agricultural interest. I'm just a small timer, just do a little agricultural type of work. But anyway, I was wondering, is there a best? I'm trying to get the best price, and so I was wondering, is there a best place between those areas where I might look?
What do you think, Stu? Auto Trader?
I would think start looking on Auto Trader, but as far as
Okay.
like the actual places that you can actually find in Texas, across your whole route to Florida, it would be CarMax's. In our experience, when we have mystery shop dealerships, they have priced their cars more fairly than others. There's less games to play. And the fees, the junk fees, they might have a small one, like a $200 or $300 junk fee, depending on the state that they're in. But they're never going to mark it up. They're not going to bait and switch. So you're not going to waste time if you see one of their trucks that you see that you like online. You're never going to show up there and they're going to, add $10,000 to it or sell it out from under you. They're just trustworthy.
Yeah, David, the cool thing about Auto Trader is you can put your zip codes in, as many as you want, and that way you'll be able to get a Ford pickup, late model Ford pickup, in the description that you want. So what you want to do with Auto Trader is build a little list of dealers that have a truck closest to the one you want. Then,
Oh.
then you shop and compare the price. So that way you can go to dealer A and say, I can buy this Ford pickup truck at this price. If you can meet that price or beat it, and that way you get you can negotiate online on you don't want to let them switch you to a different vehicle. Stick with the truck. A late model Ford pickup truck, and you know specifically what you need to have, and then that way you're going to get a good competitive bidding, which is in your favor to get the price down as low as possible.
Okay, thank you. That's now. This is. I apologize for my ignorance, but Auto Trader. That's like.
That's a website. That's a website. You go to autotrader.com.
Okay.
And
Autotrader.
it's useful because then you can look. It will list private sellers, dealer sellers, independents, franchise dealers, and so you can see all that. But as far as specific dealers in that area, I would go for an AutoNation or CarMax. Just any national a chain like that has like a public company, they're less likely to screw
And
around.
I just had a thought because you told us about this long trip you take regularly. You could actually go to timing your trip in there. You could actually go to CarMax anywhere nearest wherever you happen to be, and they're national, so they have an inventory all over the United States. And you say, "This is the truck I want," and I travel from South Florida to Texas.
I go on the 10.
Yeah.
I go up to Jacksonville from South Florida, and then I go on the 10 all the way almost to El
You
Paso.
probably have 20 CarMaxes all along I-10 between there and El Paso.
You'd be able to find. But see, the point is, wherever you're going to be for a while, you can tell CarMax, okay, I want this car, I'll buy it, but I'd like to pick it up here.
That's true.
And so that would give you a huge advantage over most people because the transportation and as long as you're sure you can take care of the car you're driving, and they'll buy the car from you, so you could trade your car into CarMax there.
Oh, I'm not selling. I'm just. I'll have my wife.
Okay.
She can drive.
Earl, do you think that Cars.com is also a great place to go? Earl?
No, I don't. I think CarMax would be a lot better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Rick has got a point here that he's been trying to make.
Whatever place you happen to pick, try to find a local independent shop near there, and cut a deal with them to bring the truck over there and have them put it in the air and give it a thorough inspection. Get a price quote from them is what they'll charge you for it. But any used vehicle, a Carfax is a great idea. But get a good independent shop with some mechanics that have some knowledge, and have that just say, hey, look, slip the mechanic an extra $20 or a 12-pack of beer or something, but say, hey, I really want you to look this over with a fine-tooth comb, and as though your daughter was going to drive it. That way, you're going to get a quality vehicle.
Okay. Did we answer your question?
Yes, very much so.
Well, thank you very much for the
Good
call.
luck to you, David. Give us a call again. We're going to go to Kim, who's calling us from Michigan. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, we're great. Have you called before, Kim?
No, ma'am, I have not.
All righty. I have a great gift for you this morning. That is $50 for the first new lady caller, and you are the first. If you stay on the line after we're finished and talk to Jeremy in our control room, you can give him your contact information, and he'll give it to me, and I'll mail you that check.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. What can we do for you this morning?
All right. So I have a 2020 Cadillac Escalade. I don't even have 25,000 miles on the vehicle yet, but I've noticed on the dash that sometimes when I'm driving it says V4, and sometimes it says V8. So when I looked in the owner's manual, it says, well, sometimes it runs on 4 cylinders for fuel economy, and sometimes it runs on 8.
Uh-huh.
My question is, how much wear and tear does it actually put on my engine? Because I would think that when it goes from 8 to 4 cylinders, I'm taking away 4 cylinders of the power, and it's putting extra stress on the 4. Am I going to have trouble down the line about how much mileage what's it going to cost? What damage can it cause?
No, that engine was actually designed that way, and the way they work it, they've got a system that when it shuts down that cylinder, it shuts off the fuel and the spark, so that those cylinders don't. They're really just kind of along for the ride at that point. However, they're still getting their lubrication, so you're not putting any harm whatsoever on the engine, and it really only shifts into that 4-cylinder mode when you're like cruising along at a steady speed, and you don't need all that extra power. And it's a very interesting design, and it works pretty well actually.
Yeah, it's kind of neat because when you're driving any car, all the power is needed just getting up to speed. Then you have momentum
Exactly.
and inertia, and it takes very little to keep it going along.
Yeah.
Well, I was just curious. I don't have any.
Well, now you know nothing's going wrong with your engine now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a Cadillac Escalade. Just
Well,
kidding.
I mean, what does that mean? Is that a problem engine?
No, I'm just picking on Cadillac. Sometimes we
No.
do that.
Yeah.
I used to work in GM, and I paid about half price for it. Put 6,000 miles on it, so I can't complain.
Now you're in good shape with that vehicle, and one of the nice things about those Escalades, they hold a lot of resale value from what I've seen.
That's true.
People love the Cadillac Escalade. There's just something about that car that there's a very strong following of folks that love them. So
Yeah, like
you know,
Jersey Mike.
keep that thing in good shape, keep it clean and tidy, and when you're done with it, you're going to be able to turn a nice penny off of that one.
Well, I already had somebody offer me way more than I paid for it, so I'm good
Yeah,
with
see?
that.
You're
I
in good
believe
shape,
that.
Kim.
That's right. You're in the
Yeah.
catbird seat.
Definitely in good shape. Yeah. Sounds like you have a terrible cold.
Oh, no, I just have a really deep voice, number one, and I've been on bed rest from a surgery
Ooh.
after 11 weeks, so I'm kind of like in and out groggy from time to time.
Right.
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so
Okay. Well, you sound great on the air.
You're a little raspy, but it sounds
Oh,
good.
that's my normal voice. I've always had a kind of raspy lady voice.
Well, that's great. That's very
Kim,
sexy.
thanks so much for thinking of us and giving us a call, and I'm glad that we could share that good news with you. You've got a great car. Hang on to it.
Yeah, I like that. Good news. All right, thank you. You all have a very nice Saturday.
Stay on the line and talk to Jeremy.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Give us a call again. We're going to talk to Bob, who's calling us from Lake Park. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Washington's birthday weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when I was younger, we used to get off from school for Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday.
I remember that as
Isn't
well.
that the truth? Yes,
I used to have
indeedy.
2
They
days.
combined them. It was a tragedy.
Yeah. Well, I have another horror story about a service experience.
All
I have
right.
a friend of mine. I sent. He bought 2 cars from Monex, new, a Ford Ranger truck and a Ford Edge, and they've had the vehicles for a couple of years. They live up in Palm City, so they're having a problem with the transmission on the Edge, and they originally, because they live up there, they went over to Essential Ford first to see if they could, take it in. Mm-hmm. John Stewart's son bought that dealership, by the way. And,
Okay, is that when they changed it to from Vantage to Essential?
The name? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Recently, it was a name change, so I guess that might have
Yeah,
coincided.
well,
with it.
Stewart's son bought that
Okay.
dealership up there in Stewart. I think
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they told them that they were, they really were all backed up, and so they brought it back here to Monex where they bought the vehicles, and they gave them the same story. They said they only had one technician that works on that particular issue, and they had 15 other people ahead of them.
Was it a recall issue? Because that makes
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a transmission.
Okay.
And on an Edge, the vehicle's a few years old, and they had no loaner cars, so now they have to go out and they had to go get a rental, and they rented something around here because his wife works over here on PGA Boulevard. But my question is this endemic of all the dealerships? They don't have people that can work on these cars.
Well,
I have only one person that can work on transmissions at a dealership. Is that?
well, I'll
is
let
that
Rick
nor-
and
is that
Earl
normal,
probably
or is that-
Technicians are hard to hire, and yeah, that's not an excuse, but it's just a fact. And it's more and more people now are deciding not getting into the trades, and I guess more and more tend to want to go to college and get a white collar job. But it's very difficult now to hire skilled technicians. Now, it's the dealers compete among themselves, and one of the reasons why service prices are higher is because technicians are earning more, and particularly the ones that are skilled. Today's cars are so complex that I call Rick, sitting in my right here in our studio, I call him a certified diagnostic master technician, but he's also a computer specialist. He's in school almost, I say constantly, but 2 or 3 times a year. He has to get recertified, ASC certified. Was it every 3 years or 5 years?
Every 5 years.
Every
Yep.
5 years. Let's put it this way: when you go to the doctor, your doctor probably got his medical degree 20 or 30 years ago. A lot of doctors, that's the last time they see the inside of a classroom. Now, you can imagine have someone, operating on you that hasn't stayed on top of research and operating techniques, anesthesia, and the rest of it for 20 years or 30 years. When you go into a dealership, if you use an ASC certified technician, he's had to go to school every 3 years to recertify him in whatever his specialty was. You mentioned transmissions. If you go to, you see where supply and demand goes. Bottlenecks obviously is having a problem finding a guy that's ASC certified in transmissions, and therefore the wait. So it's not true of all dealerships, but I wouldn't beat up Mullinex too bad on the fact that he didn't have rental cars or loaner cars available. Most car dealers don't. We don't. If I get one complaint more frequently, it's because I need a loaner car. They didn't have any cars. We try to find one, even if we have to take a used car or a new car and loan it to them. Our rental car fleet, we've got, 30, 40 cars on that, Stu?
About 45, 50.
So we got 45, 50 cars, but they're all out. So we don't have cars home.
I get it.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, in this type of situation, I guess his only recourse is to take it
To another dealer.
Well, yeah, because he can't take it to an independent person because
It has
it's
to
a
be,
warranty
right.
job, right?
Yeah, and
So
also
he's kinda-
it's very common too, for some jobs. The reason I asked if it was a recall, because some recall jobs will specify the technician's training level, and you won't. And there might be one guy in the shop that's qualified to do that. Depends on the size of the shop. But yeah, everything Earl said is is right on the money. But it's kind of tough. Just find another dealer that's got a better situation, more techs.
Right. All right. Did you ever hear back from Mr. Rubio or Mr. Scott on your challenge there to come up with a?
Unless it happened last night and Earl didn't tell me.
Yeah, frankly, we didn't expect it. I would be, it's just politicians. They're not going to go on record with anything that's going to cost them votes. And they have a base that they appeal to. They say whatever they have to say to get votes, and that's the way it is, the political system. And then after I beat up our political system, I say it's the greatest one on earth, and it is. So it's like everything else. There's no perfect anything. You just want to find the best. So we got the best, but it's not good enough. And I can't believe that. I probably should keep my mouth shut here, but we got a presidential election going on between two losers, and it's embarrassing to me that we have to elect the best of the worst. It'd be nice if we had a system, but we don't. That allows us to be more careful in who we select to hold political office. It's. And then I got to go that before I get attacked by a lot of people. I know we have the greatest system in the world, so it's good, but we need to improve it.
I was thinking, considering that they are doing this in the Texas courts, Maybe you should offer that challenge to Ted Cruz and Governor Abbott. Anyway, that's all I got to say. You guys have a great weekend and enjoy the holiday weekend.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. We're going to go to John. First, I'm going to give out that number again, 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget your anonymousfeedback.com. We have a long list of politicians that we haven't heard from. Ashley Moody, Governor DeSantis, Rubio. Well, maybe somebody will prove us wrong. What do you think? We're going to go to John, and he's calling us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Wanted to respond to the lady in Michigan about the Escalade. I had a 2003 Honda Odyssey with the variable engine, the EcoBoost, where it dropped from 6 cylinders to 2 or whatever it was, and no problem whatsoever. The greatest van I ever had. Loved that Honda Odyssey.
Well, good. I hope she's listening. She seemed a little nervous.
But after 75,000 miles, the engine mounts had to be replaced. And they told me the reason why the engine mounts had to be replaced was because when the engine made the transition from 6 to 4 to 2 or whatever, you had the vibration in there. And when I think engine and motor mounts, I'm thinking tube because it's old school back in the 60s and 70s. Well, the Honda Odyssey has 6 engine mounts. 2 of those engine mounts are like great big round rubber seals and it has ball bearings in them. And that's what would take up the vibration or the transition from the 6 to 4 to 2. And those came in. Now, when I bought motor mounts, they were like $6.50, and I only needed 2 of them. This, I had to replace 6 of them. 2 of the motor mounts were $750 each. That's the only drawback. And
Wow.
I tried to.
It's like they did that for the dealers.
Yeah. Well, we took it to independent who changed it for us. I didn't take it back to the dealer because it was already out of warranty.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and that's a job that I wasn't willing to tackle on my own. So, anyways, I don't.
Real quick, are these that were the Odyssey motor mounts? Were they like the same, as traditional ones, or are they specialized? Was there a reason that
No, just those 2. The other 4 motor mounts were just connected to the frame.
Okay.
And those other 2 motor mounts that it was like a wheel bearing and had like a rubber seal on the inside with 3 ball bearings type things. And those wore out, and those were very expensive to replace.
Okay.
And I tried to get it done under warranty work, but they said, this is just, it's not. And I don't know if they ever resolved it or if they ever had some way of fixing it, or because, if I replaced the motor mount, it was because, well, back in the 60s and 70s, because the engine broke it because it was twisting.
Yeah.
Is the way I drove it. And so, anyways, that was if anyone that's listening, if you have one of those variable cylinder engines, it's very possible that you could have problems later on.
The vibration issues.
But that's what I was told because of the transition through the things. But anyways,
how long though? Did it take to get that point?
It happened at 75,000 miles.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Got it. All right.
And the van would have went under 150, but we wanted a new vehicle, so otherwise it was still kept going.
Yeah. Thanks, John. That's really cool. Some of these things with the cars, like that 4-cylinder down, or like that EcoBoost and the Smart Stop that stops when you're there. It's strange for people, the idea that you can tell the computer to turn off a couple of cylinders or stop the engine altogether and then start as soon as you touch. It's very new stuff, and a lot of it is kind of uncomfortable and feels weird. It makes weird noises in the car, and I hope they do improve on that sort of thing.
That start-stop feature to me was, I understand the idea behind it, but in practice, in the real world, that is such a horrible feature. and the fact that the starter and the battery both have a lifespan that is programmed into the car, and they have to be replaced at a certain time, and it will actually give you a warning that there's time to replace those, and they're expensive. They're 2 or 3 times the cost of the parts for a normal car that doesn't have that feature.
Sounds like the motor mount issue.
Yeah.
I smell conspiracy.
Definitely. Hey, John, thanks for giving us a call this morning.
You're welcome. All right, see you later.
Hey,
Thank
John,
you.
thanks.
Here's an interesting thing on the Cadillac Escalade. I'll hold it up for you people streaming it. It's funny how cars can have
Emotion.
poor reliability, but the owners love them. And cars are an emotional thing. You love your Escalade, but reliability-wise, it ain't so good. There's a lot of cars exactly like that. The number one car people love more than anything is a Corvette. Well, the Corvette is not that reliable compared to a lot of others. So when you buy a car, it's 50% emotion and 50%.
Well, you love your
common
Model
sense.
S, your Tesla, and but you talk regularly about some of the issues you have with it.
Exactly,
You look
yeah.
past it because
Yeah.
the cool thing about it is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. There's not a day goes by. Nancy and I this morning had a problem with a Tesla. The other day, we couldn't get a window down. Well, the reason the window wouldn't go down is because we'd been inside a building and we left the car in the parking lot and we had it in doggy mode. We got back in the car and we wanted to put the window back up and the window wouldn't go up. Well, it won't go up when it's in doggy mode. You can't move the windows in doggy mode.
Can you just tell the car to go out of doggy mode?
Right. No, I didn't.
I mean, can you voice control?
I think you probably can.
Yeah, you can do a lot of voice controls.
A lot
But
of voice
the
control.
point being that you can overcomplicate a car. You can make a car that will do a whistle, Dixie, and tap dance if you want to.
Well,
but if you make it too complicated, it won't get you from here to the Walgreens.
No, I've talked about. I have a Sequoia, a big SUV, and it has all these different modes, like crawling over rocks and this load sensing stuff, and there's buttons all over the place.
Yeah.
And I hit them all the time when I'm like putting drinks in my cup holder. Car will start beeping, lights will start flashing, and I'm like, going, I hope something bad doesn't happen.
The display
Usually stops
screen
it
I've
good.
got is absolutely amazing. It shows all the cars in front of me, all the cars in back of me, all the cars to the right of me, left me. They're moving around. They differentiate trucks, pedestrians, pylons.
Motorcycles,
it's like
bicycles.
it's like watching a movie, and you can become
You
mesmerized
should
by
watch the road.
Right, you can become mesmerized by the screen. So anyway,
And you know, the trunk on the Tesla can be popped easily,
yeah,
right?
too easily.
Unbeknownst to us. But I have a certain way to close that trunk easily.
Yeah, well, if I tried it, it would crush the trunk. Let's put it that way. She sits on it, folks. She sits on it.
All I have to do is just sit on it and it closes. Very easy.
You're talking
know
about the
what?
frunk, by the way, not the trunk.
Ah, the funk.
Funk.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, pick up that latest edition of the Consumer Report. I got the mystery shop on my mind. This Consumer Report is really interesting. It's the March edition, and it has all the top-rated cars, SUVs, trucks, and it also goes into some detail as far as the most and the least satisfying models in their class. So there's some great information there. Our number here, if you'd like to get in touch with us, is 877-960-9960. And you can also text us at 772-497-6530. Take advantage of youranonymousfeedback.com. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Okay, I want to give you a name that you've heard on the show before. It's a Chinese company named BYD. BYD. And we've talked about it. They're a very, very significant electric vehicle manufacturer. And there was an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning, and it has to do with BYD aims to expand in the U.S. via Mexico. Now, regular listeners will remember we talk about BYD being the number one manufacturer of electric vehicles in the world. Well, you're going to say, well, I thought that was Tesla. It used to be Tesla. It isn't Tesla anymore. So Elon Musk is hearing footsteps. Very exciting. Now, we don't have any BYDs on the roads here because there's a 50% tariff that the United States charges on any cars coming here from China. So they can't compete. So Elon Musk has immunity. BYD is killing him in China and other places. So actually, he has gone on record now as saying BYD is a major threat to all auto manufacturers in the world. We got to stop BYD. Now, if they open a plant in Mexico, they avoid the 50% tariff. They still have a very small tariff that cars built in Mexico have to pay, but a lot of U.S. manufacturers are using Mexico to manufacture cars because the labor is cheaper there. And of course, labor is cheap in China too. But BYD can have its cake and eat it too. They can have cheap labor. They can build a car that is outselling Tesla, electric vehicle I'm talking about, and they also can be competitive now in the United States. So remember, you heard it here first, folks. If you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, but you're not quite ready, be sure when the time comes when you shop around, check the BYD out because we'll probably have them in this country in another couple of years.
Not yet, but
Yeah.
hopefully we don't go to war with China.
I mean, that's a huge tariff, 50%.
Yeah.
No wonder you can't. I mean, and Elon Musk is building Teslas in China with no tariff, and so it's going to be. I see. It's your best friend. It's called competition. It's like, where would General Motors and Ford be without each other? Where would one time I would have said Chrysler. Now I'd say Toyota. Toyota, Ford, General Motors. Thank God we have those three manufacturers selling cars here because competition keeps everybody honest. Competition keeps the prices down and it keeps quality up. So competition is a consumer's friend.
Yeah. During Trump put a 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made cars. And then in the next administration, Biden's, they toughened that in the Inflation Reduction Act. So it might be a while before you can get an affordable one.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a really expensive one.
Okay, well,
877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And I was reading where China's BYD outpaced Tesla in total electric vehicles sold. And Elon is, he's not worried about it. Okay, Rick.
I've got one here that I think is going to interest you. Where'd it go? Sorry, I suddenly minimized my window somehow. Okay. This is from Donovan. He says, Shell Oil Company last week closed all of their hydrogen fueling stations abruptly and permanently. After these closed, there are just 47 stations left, and about half rarely have the hydrogen fuel. This apparently is California. A lot of Toyota Mirai and Hyundai Nexo owners are now really not happy because they're struggling to find fuel for the vehicle they bought.
Yeah.
A lot of them say that Toyota and Hyundai need to buy back these vehicles because they were sold something that they cannot refuel. It's another example that hydrogen may not be the fuel of the future for consumers. Hydrogen has gotten very expensive over the last 18 months as these problems have come in. Today, it costs about $150 to refuel a Mirai. And he goes on to say, let me get down to this next section where he says, speaking of BYD, BYD will be the largest automaker by the end of the decade, he's predicting.
Yes.
They are going to build in Mexico, and they're already a top seller in South America. BYD has their software development in California. They're not stupid. They make some of the best batteries and make a very good product.
That's where they started, yeah.
He personally drove a BYD Seal in Europe,
Really?
apparently one of the models that they have.
Oh, darn.
I got to say, and Donovan has been like right on the money with a lot of his information. So this could be something to really watch for.
Yeah, I think the CEO is named Wang. He's Chinese. He's a scientist by education, scientist and engineer, and he was building this amazing battery, the best battery in the world. That's what got Warren Buffett interested in BYD. And Warren Buffett, as you know, is probably the greatest investor that ever lived, and also probably the richest investor that ever lived. And he bought BYD stock years ago, 10, 12 years ago, when they were just a battery manufacturer. So they decided, well, if we can build these great electrical batteries, then Wang says, let's try to build a car. So he built a car, and they laughed at him because it was kind of a piece of junk, but he kept on persisting, and now he's got something that's going to possibly knock Tesla right out of the saddle.
And the
He
cars
might just get the whole world on his side.
And the cars are cheap. They're small. It's a good strategy.
Yeah. Competition.
Thanks, Donovan. Donovan always has a lot of information to share with us. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. We have our regular caller online from Jupiter Farms, and that is Frank. Good morning, Frank.
Well, good morning to you all.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to hear your show and have a Saturday morning and have
Thank
maybe
you.
a little
Oh, thank you.
listening. This last week, we went in out of the wife's SQ5 Audi. Has 2 years service, which include an oil change and checking things out. Car has only 14,500 miles. And they're already saying, oh, by the way, it's an all-wheel drive. So here's our first question. It seems the front tires have worn out quicker than the rear tires, and they say now we need to replace tires. At 14,500 miles, I thought that was pretty odd. But and the front tires were down to 0.2 of tread, while the rears had 0.4. So anyway, is that indicative of all-wheel drive, that the front tires? Because I'm not really sure how that. I knew like front-wheel drive tires sort of ran out quicker.
Well, even with the all-wheel drive, the front of the vehicle still got the majority of the weight for the engine and transmission, the way they're located. So when you're driving the car, that's where all the weight is. It's mainly under the deceleration, that as you're slowing down, the weight of the car is coming forwards just by inertia. And of course, that's putting more force on those front tires. So it's not so much the acceleration or the continuous driving that's wearing on them. It's when slowing down is where you really get most of your tire wear occurring, because that much weight pushing down on the tire while it's slowing down causes that increased wear. Have you been rotating the tires regularly?
Well, I would have thought they did that during the first service, which was last year, but I don't believe they did. And I took it upon that that's what they do during one of these, very expensive oil changes and things like that.
Right.
Well, and they didn't rotate them this time either.
Yeah, one thing to bear in mind as well is when you get a car brand new from the factory, all manufacturers do this. They have certain tires that they get from the tire companies. They're ones that you cannot buy. They only come on the brand new cars, and they're a softer compound tire, so that when you drive that car off the lot, it's like riding on a marshmallow. It's smooth, it's soft, it's comfortable, it's nice. And then you've driven the car for a couple of years, you got some miles on it, now your tires are worn out, it's time to get new tires, and now you're looking at the price of those tires and you want the best quality for your money, so you're going to get tires now that the tire manufacturers have designed to get the highest miles that you can get, and they're a little bit harder compound. They don't ride quite as nice or smooth, but you don't really feel it because you're concentrating on getting the best bang for your buck on those tires now. So it doesn't matter that they aren't that soft, squishy, brand new car feel, because the car's gotten broken in a little bit. So the first set of tires are always going to wear out a little quicker anyways. But what I would recommend is actually, now this does bear in mind, the tires front and rear have to be the same size. And there are some few cars out there, the back tires in front are different sizes. As long as they're the same size, you can rotate them and just stop in at like a Tire Kingdom. And it's like $20 or $30 to have your tires rotated. And by doing that like every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you'll increase the lifespan of those tires quite a bit.
Oh, okay. 3,000 to 5,000. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Now,
something to do there.
And Audi, of course, is going to charge you an arm and a leg for their oil change and their tire rotations. They're very proud of their service. They're very proud of their people. And so of course, they're Audi, so they want to charge you everything. You can go to a local independent shop and have that exact same work done at a much, much discounted price and get the same quality. Talk with the shop, make sure they're using a good quality filter and quality oil and that they're going to stand behind their service, and always save your receipts from it. So that way, if something occurs with the car in the future and you have to go in for warranty work, you can say, hey, look, I had my oil changed here. I had these services done. Just because they weren't done with your manufacturer, your service department, they were properly done. And that protects you in the long run.
Okay, here's one more question with this, checkup. They said the EFI, the engine, I guess the fuel injectors.
Yep.
It needs that cleaning service, and it said it says immediately it requires immediate attention. The system injects fuel into your, well, you know what an EFI is. How could that? We're buying our gas at Costco, so I would imagine that gas must be all right. It's not Shell Super Maximum Cleaning Formula, but is that something that could actually need cleaning that early in a car's life?
Costco is a top-tier fuel, perfectly safe to use. And what I would recommend first is go, look in your glove box for the manufacturer's recommended maintenance schedule. And if that EFI service is listed in there, that factory Audi says it should be done, then you should go ahead and do it. If Audi, the manufacturer, doesn't say it, it's the dealership just trying to throw some fluff on you. They're just trying to squeeze some more money out of you.
Frank, thanks for the call. We got a couple callers waiting here, so
No problem.
if we've answered all your questions, we'll move on.
You did. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
You too, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. Have a great weekend. We're going to go to Howard. Howard gave us a call earlier, and we were unable to take his call. Howard, good morning. Thanks for calling back.
Good morning. Nice talking to you guys. Hope you're all well. I know it's going to rain later on, but so far we can enjoy the morning. I have a question about tires also. Why don't we used to crisscross tires? Why don't we do that anymore?
Radial tires. Steel-belted radial tires, if you swap them side to side, you're changing the direction that tire is spinning, and it's very likely you will create a pull to one side or the other. We have cars come in all the time to the shop. They say, my car is pulling left or it's pulling right, and I go for a test drive and say, yep, okay, it's definitely got more than it should have for that road crown.
Describe specifically what a radial tire is versus the previous design.
Okay. It used to be the body of your tire, you have the rubber tread, and then underneath it, you had these polyester belts, and then you had another rubber seal inside that would keep the air inside the tire. Those polyester belts were laid down basically in just a straight pattern, and when they switched over to what were called steel-belted radials, they actually have them in sort of a crisscross pattern. And the tires will develop a set, and as it's rolling, it'll actually begin to drift one way or the other. And there's also something that's called tire conicity. And if you were to look straight down on the tire, straight at the tread, although you really won't be able to see it, one edge of the tread is going to actually be a larger diameter than the other. It's kind of looking down like at a cone shape. It's so minute you won't see it, but what happens is when we put the tires on your car, as you're rolling down the road, if both of them are cone shaped and going in the same direction, that pointed end, it'll make the car drift or pull. So we'll cross those tires. That reverses that cone shape. And quite often we'll even switch the tire around on one wheel so that the two will cancel each other out.
Radials are far better than...
And the car will go straight, Steel-belted radials ride a lot better. They are more durable for the road, but they do have that tendency that they can create a pull. So we have to set those tires up in a way that it will go nice and straight down the road. There is a full science behind it. But it's always best that we rotate from the front to the back to the front.
Okay, one more fast question about the Corolla. I hear there are two different types of Corollas coming out, and one has a seat that folds down, the other doesn't. I think it's called a Cross.
Yes.
Corolla.
Corolla Cross is a small SUV, sport utility vehicle. So it's got the big hatch in the back, and the back seats can fold down to give you a lot of extra storage area.
That's great because I'm not going to be traveling to New York too much, and I don't need, I don't need a trunk because where I live, you have to have a trunk, otherwise they could break in. So that's good news. Thank you very much for your information.
Yeah, Howard. The Corollas, boy, I'll tell you, they have really come a long way, haven't they?
Oh, yes.
Great car.
And just to mention on that, most of them do have a small tonneau cover so that when you have stuff stored in the hatch area, you pull that cover over, nobody can look into the window and see what's back there.
Exactly. Ladies, I have $50 left here for the next new lady caller, and I have a question for you. Did you understand your financing costs before you even went into the dealership? It can be very confusing, and it's a good thing to look into unless you're paying cash. So give us a call, 877-960-9960, and we're going to go to John in Palm City. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Welcome.
The topic came up this morning of hydrogen. I have a question for Rick. Did you ever hear of an ammonia-powered car?
Ammonia?
Yes.
That is a new one on me.
Well, some ships and some trucks have already used it. Toyota and Chinese motor company called GAC are experimenting with it. It has a lot of advantages. It's carbon-free. There's no CO2. It can be toxic, though. That's the one negative about it. And if it's deadly, if it's exposed in the air or in gasoline, liquid, it can be dangerous. But it is be experimenting with, and it is ammonia-powered cars. So I just want to mention it.
Wow.
The negative is that can be toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toyota has some prototypes. I just Googled it, John. I'd never heard of an ammonia-powered car, but that's breaking news. Toyota is working on it. I'm a Toyota dealer, and I didn't even know about it. So
with the Chinese auto company called GAC, they're working on it together. So I don't know what the future is, but I just happened to mention.
I mean, the mere thought of having a smell of ammonia when you're driving a car, I mean, that'll bring you down. I can't stand to be around ammonia, but I imagine they've got it sealed in there so tightly you probably don't smell it. But it'd be a marketing challenge. Come in and buy the new ammonia-powered car. I don't see it.
Well, for a while when we had R12 in the air conditioning, a lot of companies were trying to get, and obviously the government was cracking down on R12 because of the ozone problems. They were trying air conditionings that had a propane-based gas as its refrigerant. And the problem that they found was most times when a leak occurs, it occurs in the inside, in the evaporator core. So you'd have to worry now if someone lit up a cigarette inside their car, they could suddenly be driving a Fireball.
I agree with you. I just want to mention fast, tomorrow there's a big race, Daytona 500,
Yes.
and there's new race cars involved with Toyota and Ford, so it should be very interesting, brand new race car divisions of them, and if it's going to be rain, possibly, but they'll run it on Monday, so just want to mention it. To me, I like it better than even the Super Bowl, and it's held tomorrow.
Now, John, you're an old guy like me, so we can digress a bit to Daytona. You probably remember that started, I think Daytona race started around 1956, 57.
Yes.
And one of the early superstars of the Daytona 500 was Fireball Roberts. Do you remember him?
Yes, I do, Earl. We were both in high school at that time.
Oh, wow. Fireball Roberts really put Pontiac on the map. You know, my father started a Pontiac dealership in West Palm Beach in 1937, and Tom Pontiac was just a so-so car. You know, everybody outsold Pontiac. And finally, they decided to start building more performance cars. So Pontiac started building a couple of faster cars, and they'd get 3 2-barrel carburetors and dual 4-barrel carburetors and 4 on the floor. And then they put one into the Daytona 500. Fireball Roberts drove it and won the Daytona 500. And from that point on, Pontiac soared in sales from nowhere. They were at one time challenging, at that time, this is how long ago, Oldsmobile. So I think they got number 2 to Chevrolet. Pontiac was 3rd in sales, probably from 14th to 3rd, just because of the Daytona 500.
And for many years, they were number 3 seller,
Yeah.
Pontiac.
Yeah.
And you bring nostalgia. My favorite car ever, and I think you owned it, is a 57 Pontiac tri-powered or fuel-injected convertible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, triple 2 barrels. Well, I had a 1961 4 on the floor, 3 2-barrel carburetors, and at that time I think I was the fastest wheels on the road. I said I'm reliving my childhood now with my Tesla by having the fastest wheels on the road.
Those were the days, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, John, did you see the mature men that they interviewed on the out at Daytona yesterday? And they were talking a lot about Bobby Clark and the good old days.
I didn't see that, but it's the youngest people now that are drivers. If you looked at the lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the youngest people, I think, in history, which is great.
Yeah.
The youth is involved, and it's very important that racing is for safety. And a lot of things, seatbelts and all, have been developed. I used to remember when I was a young person, I went out to the stock car races, and in those days, the stock cars had seatbelts in them when nobody else heard of it,
Yeah.
and they weren't required by the automobile manufacturers.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
Let's
John.
go into the shopping report.
Oh, thanks, John. Have a great weekend. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Ladies, I do have $50 here for the next new lady caller. Give me a call, and you can win yourself $50 today, and you can share some information with us, and we would love to hear from you. We're going to go to Brian, who's calling from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. First-time caller. Been listening for a couple of years. Thanks for taking the call.
Oh, thanks for listening.
So I have a 2018 Chevy truck and a 2019 Chevy truck, and both infotainment screens have failed. And speaking with many of my friends that also own Chevy trucks, there's got to be 1 out of every 2. Unfortunately, I have 2 out of 2 failures on the infotainment. There was a class action suit that was brought and failed. So my first question is, what kind of makes a successful class action, and why did this fail?
Oh, as far as what was the question?
He's what makes a class action lawsuit when you've got a common failure in a vehicle?
Oh, okay. I'm
and
sorry.
they had a class action lawsuit, but it failed.
Yeah. What typically causes class action lawsuits to fail is you can't get enough people on the class action. You have the court, the judges require that you have a certain minimal number of people. I, for a long time, have been trying to get a class action suit against car dealers for hiding fees and adding them to the advertised price. The Attorney General and the regulators won't do anything. They won't enforce the laws that are already there. So I talked to a class action attorney in Fort Lauderdale, and he said, I'd be glad to handle the case, but you need to get me some people that will sign up a representative sample. The lawyer himself is not supposed to do that. If a lawyer, there's an ethics question with lawyers soliciting clients. Of course, they do it anyway, but it's apparently I had an ethical class action lawyer. He says, I can't do it, but if you will. So on this show, and I'll repeat the offer, I said, I'd like to do a class action suit, you lawyers listening out there. If you would give me your contact information, we will put you on the list. I will give it to my attorney who will file the class action, and he will try to get you money back, because on the basis of all the people that had to pay, if you're in Florida, you probably paid $1,000 to $3,000 in hidden fees when you bought your car. Okay, so the class action lawyer would be able to get back hundreds of millions of dollars, and that would be divided up among anybody that was hurt. But we can never get class action lawsuits off the ground because people don't want to come forward and give them their name and say, I want to participate.
Well, I definitely participate in a suit on this again, but thanks for that info. And just a quick second piece. Being that the repairs are $1,200 a piece, I was going to do it myself. Who would you recommend for obtaining the infotainment screens from? So kind of secondary market. I think what they're doing is acquiring these, and you send in yours and they send you someone else's that they've fixed. Is there anyone that you would recommend to source the screens from?
Well, as far as repairing your car, where did the $1,200 come from? Who quoted you that?
Dealers,
Yeah.
multiple dealers.
Well, the first thing is you need to get a competitive bids, and you need to get two other repair facilities, independent or dealer, to give you a quote. Get the quote in writing. A reason for that is that when they work on your car, Florida law says if the quote is in writing, they have to remain within 10% of the amount they quoted you. So that protects you there. Competition will probably bring the price down below $1,200. I would be sure that the technician assigned to your car, you should know who he is. Don't just take it into a dealership or a shop and trust the shop or the dealership to choose a technician. Tell them you'd like to know who's working on your vehicle, and is he ASE certified? And that's Automotive Service Excellence. It's a national foundation company. Rick Kearney, for example, sitting to my right here, he's ASE certified in all the different skills, and he has to go every 5 years to be recertified. And every 5 years, trust me, with technology moving the way it is now, it's like a whole new ball game. So he's staying on top of the game. So get 3 bids, get the quote in writing, and be sure that an ASE certified technician qualified in that particular skill is assigned to your car.
Well, thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Brian. Thanks for the call.
Have a great day.
Thank
too,
you.
Sir.
We are going to go to Dawn in Palm Beach Gardens. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning. I just wanted to know, did you ever shop Al Packer on Southern Boulevard?
You know, we have, but it's been a long time. Al Packer has been around for a long time in this market. I remember, I don't know how long you've been here, but when he first started out in business, I'm going to say 40 years ago, his son's in it now, and his daughter, I believe. But when he first began, he used to do these TV commercials, and they called him Granny Packer, and he put an old lady's wig on, and it was it was really funny. But we haven't shopped him in a long time. As I recall, the last shopping report that we did was pretty good. Why, have you had an experience, Don, with Al Packer?
Yeah, I did. I traded in an Expedition, a 21, contemplating that I'm going to get a Cybertruck sometime this century, and I was wearing it out, so I brought it in there and ended up buying a new one, a 24 model, and I paid sticker price for it. I want to say that their salesman was great. His name is Goody. The sticker price was what they quoted. The dealer fee was $500, which I didn't mind, and I got the full price I was asking for my 21. I mean, it was a great experience. It just took a while to.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate you doing that. We don't get too many phone calls for probably obvious reasons commending dealers, but we want to be unbiased. We're not here to put dealers out of business, to embarrass them. We're here to help you, the consumer, find a good dealer. And when you find a good dealer, like Don did, his experience with Alpaca Ford in West Palm Beach was quite good. And so we will put Alpaca on our mystery shopping list to check them out, verify, and we will also say, based on Don's recommendation, you definitely ought to compare Alpaca Ford if you're going to buy a Ford. The recommended dealer that comes to mind for buying cars is Mullinax, although we've had a couple of calls from the same person whose friends have had bad service experience with Mullinax Ford. But sales experience has always been excellent. So you got two Ford dealers, so you people out there thinking about buying a Ford and you're in South Florida area, check with Mullinax and check with Alpaca. And thank you very much, Don.
Yeah, you might remember I was the one that helped you get your Tesla. I talked you into it. You told me one time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The red one, your plaid. But anyway, after I had this experience, bought this car. Guess what happened the next day? I got my notice from Tesla that I'm going to get my Cybertruck in 6 weeks.
Very good.
Wow, that's great news.
I just need to hold on to that car another day, and I wouldn't have to trade it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Don, thanks for the call.
You bet. Okay.
Bye. Thanks for all the information you shared with us, too. We're going to go to Rick. We're going to get some texts and some YouTubers.
Well, as our tradition is, we will start right off with Anne Marie. She says, "Good morning. I was strolling down memory lane, checking out old TV commercials on YouTube, and I came across this Midas muffler ad from 1975, where an old gentleman drives up his Ford Model A to get a new muffler under the Midas muffler lifetime guarantee. The guys ask him if he'll ever sell the car, and he replies that he wants to keep giving them the business. The ad prompts an observation and a question. Earl, you have a program for Tires for Life, where if a customer buys a car and has it regularly serviced at your dealership, they can get Tires for Life of the car. Under your Tires for Life program, what is the most sets of tires that a customer has received, and on what vehicle were they driving?" Thanks.
Gosh, yeah, I hate to say I don't know. Typically, we're replacing the factory tires, which Rick, you referred to earlier. The tires that are on the car from the manufacturer are not tires that you can buy. So they might be called Michelins or they might be called Firestones, but they were designed by Toyota, in my case, and the Michelin or Goodyear or Firestone or whoever manufactured the tire to Toyota specifications. So when we replace a tire, we're replacing a tire designed by Toyota. And as you also indicated, the rubber is very soft because, all the manufacturers do this. They want, when you test drive a new car and when you buy a new car, they want the softest, smoothest ride possible, so they use the softest rubber. You can say that another way, if you want to be facetious, saying they don't care that you get as much miles on your tires as you should, but that's true too. It's a trade-off. If you want a real smooth ride, they need to get a tread wear index that's very low. If you want a long-wearing tire, you want to get a high tread wear index, which is harder rubber, and it lasts longer. So We replace the tires with tires that we check to see we focus more on long wear, partly from a selfish standpoint because we have to replace the tires because we're giving you free tires. So we'd rather see you get 50,000 miles on a set of tires than 20,000.
Well, I can personally tell you from the shop that I have replaced tires on cars, several different vehicles, usually Camrys, Corollas, ones that people keep for a long time that are in the 200 to 300,000 mile range. We're still putting tires on their cars under the Tires for Life program.
Yeah.
So basically if you keep your car for a long time, when you're under Tires for Life, you're going to get them.
Oh, we can't be doing commercials though. So
okay, but
I appreciate that.
That was just for to answer her question.
Yeah.
We've done some really long mile cars there. And let's see. We've got one here from Steve Maggs. He says, Earl, in light of Ford Motor Company's missteps, what are your thoughts about its continued ability to remain in business?
I think Ford is not the only one that has got a problem about remaining in business. I think a lot of these companies that call themselves auto manufacturers now will either go out of business or become something else. They may become battery manufacturers. They may become software companies. Cars themselves are going to become a commodity. And if you look far enough down the road, and if you're a Ford or a General Motors or a Toyota or a Honda, you've got to look way down the road. I mean, the average person, the average age is, 75, 85? I don't know what it is now. So the average person doesn't look down the road. You look during your remaining lifespan. If you're a company, you have to look 100 years down the road. So I think all the companies now that will be here for a while will be the ones that evolve. And I think Ford, if they're going to make it, they're going to have to be probably something like a software company or battery manufacturing company, electric vehicle manufacturing company. And if everybody decides they want to be an electric vehicle manufacturing company, guess what? Only the strong will survive. So it's going to be BYD, Tesla, and probably 4 or 5 others.
And
okay, we're going to go back to the phones and we're going to talk to Bob. Thanks for your patience, Bob. Bob's calling us from Pompano Beach. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I enjoy your show, by the way.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know about tires. I got into one place in town, tire place, for years. And last time I was there a few weeks ago. I have a Mercedes S-Class. They replaced the tires. And he said, leaving the place, he says, oh, by the way, you need brakes. I said, oh, really? Okay, well, you need them bad. So I brought it over to the Mercedes. Not the dealership and Mercedes people. I bring the car to him. He says, you don't need any brakes there at all. He says, I know what they're talking about. It really infuriates me because I've been going to this place for years and I trust them. And in fact, I just brought the Corvette I have there, and my daughter brought her 2 Toyotas there for changed tires. I don't know why they do this, these people. And in fact, there's something on there when they change the brakes last. There's like a sensor in each brake that lets you know when you're down, the pads are down to replace them. So I can't understand why they do that.
Well, unfortunately, some places when they get a younger tech in, the technicians will look at the brakes, and the shape of the brake pad can be deceiving if you don't really have a lot of experience and don't understand how to judge the actual thickness of that brake pad without disassembling the brakes to really get them out and see them. It may look like that pad is like this, the friction material is getting very thin, but it's actually that the edges are curved.
Right.
So it's thinner at the outer edges and thicker in the middle.
Right.
So
I
that
hope
can be
so.
deceptive. That's one thing that can happen. And
I
unfortunately,
really trust these people. I mean, I really am surprised. I know the owner, and he's on his way out, and his son is taking over. But
yeah.
I suspect that's what may have happened anyway. One other thing, I went to trade in the car the other day and order a new one, a Mercedes. They said the S-Class in another 5 years is going to be all electric cars.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that.
Electric cars seem to be the wave of the future.
Yeah.
But we're seeing some interesting little doggy steps as it's getting there. It's like it goes sideways every so often.
Electric vehicle sales are still growing quickly. They just aren't growing as quickly as they were a year ago. A lot of people are looking at the statistics and saying, "Oh, it was growing at 40%. Now it's only growing at 23%," which is, I think, the number. Growing at 23% is still pretty strong. So the buyers like me, I bought a Tesla just because I'm one of these crazy people that likes to have something new.
Right.
And but pretty soon, there was an interesting survey done by Consumer Reports that 34% of the people in the United States have never seen a car. Electric vehicle in their neighborhood. They've never ridden in one. They don't know, have a friend who drives one. So more than a third of the people in the United States are clueless about electric vehicles. Once that happens, that's kind of what happened with me. I started seeing Teslas on the road, and I said, I wonder what that's like. So Nancy and I went by the Tesla dealership, and we test drove one, and whoa! They went. The salesman took us out on a demonstration ride, floored it, and I felt like I was in a rocket on the way to the moon. And I'm a kid at heart, so I said, we got to get one of these. So until you experience an electric vehicle, you're not going to buy one. And we still got a long way to go before there are enough on the roads where people can even see one.
They're trying to trade mine in for, I think it's called Equus S. The Mercedes has it now. It's the electric car they have. The only trouble is I'm in a condominium, and I don't know where I'm going to charge this thing.
Yeah, that's a challenge. A lot of people have that problem, and that problem we solve in two ways. First of all, there's going to be chargers probably on every street corner before you know it, just like we used to have gas stations. And also, the battery range is going to go probably to 1,000 miles before you know it. And if you got a battery with a 1,000-mile range, who cares about having a charger on every corner?
Not to mention quick charging.
Yeah, and quick charging. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the condo could get like a quick charger.
And Bob, here's a technology Rick brought up the first time. He probably talked about this a year ago. In Germany, they have an underneath the road. There's call it a grid. There's an inductance charger. So when you drive on that road, through inductance with no wires, you're charging your car just by driving on the road. There's also inductance chargers, very expensive now, too expensive, in your garage. So imagine being able to drive your car, get out of your car, go in the house, and while you're in the house, and come back, it's already charged again. So charging and range, all these obstacles will be overcome, and I won't be here to see it, but in 25 years there'll be nothing but EVs on the road.
Let me ask you a question, because you have an electric car.
Yeah.
Is it true that after, like some people say, I'll charge it every night, I'll just plug it in every night? Does that weaken the durability of the battery after a while?
No, that's what I thought too. Years ago, that used to be the case. It's no longer the case with modern batteries. The reason I plug mine in every time in the garage, I pop it in the charger. It doesn't even begin to charge until midnight, and the reason it doesn't charge till midnight is I've got it programmed so I only charge my car when Florida Power Light, our power company, lowers their charges. So I save a high percentage on charging just by charging at midnight.
I heard that's a very, very, very good deal by FPL. But the trouble is, for $7,000, they told me I can have an electrician hook it into my what they call it, my electricity, and just put it by my parking spot. I haven't done parking.
How much?
$7,000.
Wow. That's
well, they go and they go to your meter and they where my car is under in an inside garage, and they snake it over to your parking spot, and they put it there, and I guess you put even a lock on it or something that not everybody uses it.
I think
trouble we're having here is people just pulling in and using our electricity in the parking lot.
That's outrageous. I think you'll probably see that price come down too, because just think of the percentage of people that are like you. Nancy and I lived in a condominium for years and years, and so to get to that population, somebody's going to come up with something creative, like a mobile charger or something that you can roll up and charge your car, and it ain't going to cost $7,000. But that's interesting.
Now, let me ask you, like in 4 or 5 years, I trade in my car, usually every 4 or 5 years. I didn't trade in a Mercedes 16 because of this wacky prices they wanted. I went to trade it in, they wanted like a $15,000 over and above the $136,000 they wanted for it, is the higher end one. And now I might trade it in, but these electric cars, are they, with the batteries going bad eventually, do they lose a lot more of their value in the trade-in?
Well, depending on the generation that you're buying, just like the driving range and the charging abilities, all this is improving. With that is the longevity of the battery. So the answer is yes. Batteries will always wear out. There's probably going to be a time, when you're going to. But the same thing is true of transmissions and engines and everything. Everything eventually wears out, but the life of the batteries will get extremely long. One little neat thing that I don't think they do it anymore, but that solved that problem is you don't own your battery. You own the car and you swap the battery out. They did that in Israel. I thought it was a great idea, but it never caught on. Instead of buying a car, instead of buying an electric vehicle, you buy a car with a battery that you lease, or you don't even lease it, because when you go into a charging, instead of a charging station, it's like a gas station. Guy runs out, pops the new battery in, pulls the old battery out, and charges it. So I thought that was really a cool idea, and it worked in Israel. They had one company doing that. But
they have a lot of electric cars in Israel. My daughter was there 6 months ago before this problem happened over there, and there are a lot of them. But you have to realize, too, Israel is a very small country.
Yeah, they come up with some creative stuff.
I used to go up to New York and, in like 2 days. One time we did it in one drive. We had 3 drivers in the car.
Yeah.
It's hard. The electric car right now is kind of like, that's one of the deficits.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and it won't be. It never will be for everybody, but you won't have in 2025, not 2025, probably a little after that, you won't be able to buy anything but an electric vehicle. 16 or 18 states are making it illegal to sell a combustion engine car in 2025. So
right now, I think that's kind of it won't work for a lot of people. I mean, if you really need a car and drive a lot, you can't stop and recharge it all the time at this point. But I think in the future they can. It might work.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you and your daughter have a great show there.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate your listening and calling in. You're greatly appreciated.
Interesting conversation. Thank you, Bob. Give us a call again. We're going to go to Roger, and Roger's calling us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Roger.
Hey, good morning. How are you today?
We're great.
I got a mechanical question for Rick.
Okay.
I own a 2017 Nissan Quest, and basically about a month ago or so, I'm a home mechanic, so I replaced the brake shoes, and I had this is the front wheel, the rotors turned. Okay, so I put everything back together, and about a week later, I started getting this noise, a roaring noise, when you push on the brakes, and you don't hear it till you almost come to a stop, and it's getting louder as I go. So there was ceramic brakes. So I'm asking, what do you think's causing that problem?
When you replaced them, the shims, you made sure you transferred the shim plates over from the old pads?
The shiv plates that were on the brake pads?
Right. They should be on the back, on the metal side of it, not the friction side.
I didn't transfer them over. It came with them.
Oh, it came with new ones?
New brake pads. Yes.
Did you put a little bit of lubrication in between the shim plate and the pad?
Yes.
Okay, and when you cleaned up the little ears where they mount up, did you add a little bit on those as well?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Now,
let me tell you this one thing, and I took it back, and they gave me another set, but one of the shivs came loose. If those shivs come loose, will that cause that kind of a noise?
That is possible, yeah, because if it shifted, and when you apply the brakes, your rotors are always going to make a little bit of side-to-side motion anyways. So if it's got that little shim plate has moved and it's contacting the caliper, when it vibrates, of course, that could definitely make some odd noises. That'd be the first thing I'd be looking at.
Do you think?
I'd be checking on those shim plates again to see if any of them have moved out of place.
Okay. So it couldn't be the guy told me when he turned the rotors, he said that they were warped a little bit, but he was able to turn it out. So that couldn't, that wouldn't be the problem, right?
No, not if you turned them correctly. And as long as their thickness is still within specification, then you shouldn't have any problems there, because I resurface rotors all the time that are warped, have thickness variations, whatever. And when you put it on the machine, if it's mounted properly on the machine, it grinds a thin layer of metal off and brings them back straight and true. The easiest way to check for that is get up to highway speed on a road where you got a few moments where it's safe to do this, and kind of give a really good hard, almost to a panic stop, to where you're almost going to make the ABS kick in. And if your steering wheel stays nice and straight with a good hard application of the brakes, then you know those rotors are nice and straight.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll check the shivs. Can I ask a second question?
A real quick one.
Real quick. On the same Quest, I mounted a trailer hitch, and it seems like to me it's dropped. It's lowered a little bit since I put it on there, maybe a half inch or so. How can I get it? What would I have to do to get it back up where it should be, or is there any way I can get it higher?
Without looking at it, it'd be hard to say. But first thing I'd be checking, recheck the torque on all your bolts. Make sure that they're torqued properly, because if something is loosened up, that may be dropping down and creating that gap for you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Roger. Okay, we're going to go straight to the Mystery Shopping Report. Mystery Shopping Report is that we did Cochran Kia in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I remind all those folks out there that we want you to listen to this and vote on it. And after the shopping report, give us a vote A, B, C, D, or F if you fail them. I remind you every week that we score on the curve. And so there are no, I started to say there's no absolutely terrible dealers, but there are. So
most definitely.
You give them an F. There are no perfect dealers, that's for sure. But understand that the average dealer is where we draw the water line. So if he's an average dealer, we give him a C. If he's better than average, we give him an A or a B. If he's worse than average, we give him a C, D, or F. But don't think in terms of absolute terms, because it's very difficult.
You can vote at 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530. Or
youtube.com/Earl on Cars, and we get a huge number of votes there. We appreciate all you YouTubers out there. Rick monitors YouTube, so youtube.com/Earl on Cars. Again, this is a mystery shop of Cochran Kia in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and our agent Lightning is in that market up there now. I think that's her home, and she's visiting, and so she's having fun doing some mystery shops. I'll speak in the first term as if I were the mystery shopper. Her name is, undercover name, of course, is Agent Lightning. I arrived late in the afternoon and was greeted by a customer service representative as opposed to a salesperson. She warmly inquired, "What can I do for you today?" Eagerly, I responded, "I'm hoping to see if you have any new Tellurides in stock today." She followed up with, is there a certain trim level you're looking for, and have you been in contact with anyone here at the dealership? That's a courtesy to a salesperson that may have been dealing with you, worked on providing you with information, and also to you because you'd probably like to continue with someone that you've already conversed with and not have to repeat yourself. So that's a positive. I said, no, I haven't been in touch with anyone. After excusing herself, the customer service representative walked over to a salesman to see if he was available to assist a customer interested in the Telluride, a Kia Telluride. They both approached shortly after, and she introduced him. His name is Marty. Is going to help you. Hope you have a great evening. So I'm now in Marty's hands. He says he extended his hand, greeted me, and invited me to join him at his computer. He kindly inquired, which features are you looking at in a Telluride? I was looking for something middle of the line. If you have it, I replied. Marty checked his inventory and excitedly shared, we have 12 in stock. Now, I'll digress a little bit here because this is the time to buy a car. If you're a regular listener, you've been hearing me for the past 3 years say next year was the time to buy a car, and I was wrong. And I'd say again, next year, and I was wrong. Finally, we're here. Next year is here. 2024 is a good time to buy a car. Dealer profits are dropping, the markups are dropping, and the dealers are more competitive. Inventories are getting way up there. So now, if you've been waiting, now's the time to buy a car. But be careful. Listen to the show. Look at EarlOnCars.com. Get the information you need. Otherwise, you'll still take be advantage of it. In the past 3 years, you were going to pay a high price even if you were a good shopper. Now, if you're a good shopper and an informed consumer, you'll get a really good price. So he's got 12 Tellurides in stock, which is, that's a lot of one model for any dealer. A year ago, you wouldn't hear this. Before proceeding to go over all of them with me, I settled on the new 2024 Kia Telluride EX V6 AWD, all-wheel drive in blue. It just hit the lot less than an hour ago, he told me. I'll be right back with the keys, and we can go take a look. There was a Maroni label properly affixed to the car. If you're from South Florida, you won't see that very often. They take them off the car, which is a violation of federal law. But in Cochran, Kia, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Maroni label was where it was supposed to be. Very hard to make out because the information because of the glare from the sun. However, I was able to see that the MSRP was $45,675. About 3 minutes later, he returned explaining the keys are still upstairs since they just arrived, but would you mind coming with me to take a look? Despite the weather, it was 40 degrees, we walked outside. Doors were locked, but I managed to glimpse inside through the window. Marty mentioned, if you decide you want to buy it, if you have the time, we can rush the inspection and get the keys for you to drive it. Back inside, he requested my license. I handed him my Florida license. It was much different up here, he observed. Unlike Florida, this is really, it kind of makes me ashamed to be a Floridian, but you regular listeners know it's the truth. Now here's a car salesman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, telling a customer that unlike Florida, we have mandated fees. We can't overcharge for vehicles like Florida does. He shared stories of customers who flew in to purchase a vehicle and drive back home due to the savings. So that's what's been going on in case you were on Mars for the past 3 years and didn't hit the COVID thing and the microchip shortage and all the other craziness. People are flying from Florida to Pennsylvania. I ran into a person in the parking lot the other day that flew to Michigan to buy a car. It's crazy what people were doing not to get taken advantage of if they live in Florida. At any rate, he explained we're buying this vehicle to keep up here with our son, keep here with our son. We're planning on registering and insuring it here under his name, and I'll likely co-sign with him. After discussing financing and cash options, Marty, the salesman, filled in a few numbers on his computer, then printed a worksheet for me along with a window sticker. So it was hard to see the details from outside. The worksheet was refreshing to me. Usually they're pretty tricky. So this one was refreshing. The top line was MSRP, and that's supposed to be a guideline, a benchmark to see what sort of a discount you're going to get. That's what it was designed for when it became federal law in 1958. So the MSRP was $45,675. There was a $1,061 discount labeled dealer discount, and it really is a dealer discount. They added sales tax, it's supposed to be, and that was $676, and an estimated registration and fees. Now, I circled fees because there's always a question. Are they taxable fees or non-taxable fees? If they're non-taxable, they're government fees, they're legitimate. If they're taxable fees, they're junk fees. So I circled that, and we'll see about that as we go along the report. An asterisk indicated there was some fine, but not too fine, print. Actually, I looked at the photograph. The print wasn't fine at all on the worksheet, which indicated the estimated fees included. Okay, here comes a junk fee, $464. They called it a dock fee. I call it a junk fee. A $58 notary plate fee, again, a junk fee. Those are both taxable fees, and that would be the acid test. And a $21.90 online registration fee, again, a junk fee. You add all those together, they're about $544, and so the out-the-door price was $48,413. But remember, I'd gotten a discount, a dealer discount, which was $1,061. So they actually did discount it about $500 off of MSRP. And if we'd been having the show 6 months ago, that wouldn't have been the case. So prices are coming down. I thanked him for everything. And the out-the-door price, by the way, was $48,413, and I thanked him, and I left. I thought about my experience as I drove away. Marty was thoroughly professional, ensuring there was no pressure on me. He highlighted a $1,000, $61 discount and confirmed there were no dealer fees. Well, there were, but they were, I don't know why this is in the written report. There were dealer fees, junk fees. He detailed all the fees at the bottom of the sheet and was eager to answer any questions I might have. Interestingly, he asked if there was anything about my previous cars that I didn't like. A question I'd never been asked before. Now, this is a memo to myself after finishing this report to ask Agent Lightning in the future shops to persist a little bit, because even though there was a discount, the MSRP was the MSRP, and even after small junk fees, there was a discount, net discount off MSRP. I believe had she gone back to the salesperson and say, I'm going to shop this car with another Kia dealer in Pittsburgh, there's probably 3 or 4 of them, and if your price is the lowest price I'll buy from you, can you check with your manager and see if he can sweeten the pot, do a little better? I believe she could have done better. So we need to push this a little bit. We just can't take it at face value. Even in Pittsburgh, and I'm not comparing with South Florida or even Florida. Florida is terrible. South Florida is beyond terrible. And Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania and most of the other towns are not as bad. But you're still going to have to negotiate, and competition is the way to negotiate. So there we are. We're going to vote on this, and as I reminded you at the beginning of the mystery shopping report, average dealer is a C, a better than average is a B or an A, A is really, really good. We've only got a handful of A dealers on our recommended dealer list, which, by the way, is at earloncars.com. earloncars.com. We only have a handful of F's, failures, on Earl on Cars. If we give a dealer an F, they probably ought to be in the slammer, because we only really give terrible dealers Fs. A D is a bad dealer, and and F is a criminal dealer. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the grade. We'll go out and see. Rick, do you have any grades coming in yet?
We are coming in with them. We're going to start with Bob from Maryland. He says B- for Cochran Kia. And here they come now. Doug Tesler says Ella gives him a B-. Tom Steckel says B+, good sales approach and minimal fees as compared with anything encountered in South Florida. Negan 1, I say a B. Over here we have Tim Gilliland. What? No nitrogen? B. Johnny Z. Fradley, fair price, small fees, no add-ons, B+. Scott H. Sr. says B. Mark Smith, B. Decent Kia dealership. Guy Larrabee, I rate this as a B+ on the curve because of the junk fees. The Oz Man, discount was greater than the junk fees. Not too shabby. A-. Brian said Latco, B. Bill Broadhead says JM. I'm not sure what that grade is, but okay. Doug Tesler, Sim says a B from Doug Tesler, getting multiple votes in from Doug. Joseph Kelleher with a B. And Jonathan in Palm Coast, you don't have to fly to Pittsburgh to buy a car. You just have to be educated. Look out for tricks, lies, and scams. Agent Lightning showed us the junk fees are even in Pittsburgh. The combination of no-pressure salesmen and junk fees will garner this dealership a B from me. A good deal or bad deal lies in the hands of an informed consumer. And for me, I'm going to say an A-. I like this place. I think their dealer fees are pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worthwhile. And from Frank and Jupiter Farms, looks like all dealerships have junk fees, obviously worse in South Florida. For Pennsylvania, a B+. And that's all that we have right here for the...
All right. Nancy, what do you say?
Well, I think it's
Your hometown, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm ready to go back. Ready to go back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm going to give them an A. This was really a nice mystery shop all the way around.
Wow. Am I sure I heard that right? An A?
You did indeed.
Wow. Wow. You're not a little hometown prejudice there?
Red letter day.
A little geographical bias. I'm going to give him a B-. I almost gave him a B. I think that I think if we pressed that a little bit, I think we probably would have had those junk fees taken off. If she pressed it and they take the junk fees off, I might have given them a B. I want to remind all of you, if you weren't listening earlier, that we are recommending that you go into the market and start educating yourself. Don't start buying. Start building your information as to the car you want, and then start shopping. It is a good time to buy a car. The last quarter profit reports on the largest car dealers, AutoNation, Ashbury, Group 1, Lithia, Penske, these are the big boys. AutoNation profits plunged 35%. The profit per car has dropped precipitously. The average price of a new car sale has gone down thousands of dollars. So you had to be desperate to buy a car a year ago. Today is a good time. It's just going to get better. The amount of cars in inventory is soaring. Dealers are looking at 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as many cars as they had. So that's all the ingredients for a good deal are falling into place. And just follow our advice and shop carefully. Be sure you get prices from at least 3 dealers out the door, and you can buy a car in 2024 at a really good deal.
Hey, Earl, Frank from Jupiter Farms was asking, please ask Earl if he knows Mark Drusicki, who had a Toyota dealership in Iowa. I met Mark yesterday.
Wow. I don't think I know him, although for some reason it sounds vaguely familiar. You know, dealers get together, and we have national meetings, and we travel to these meetings, so you run into all sorts of people. He'd be from a different group of dealers because the dealers in the Southeast United States are under Southeast Toyota, which is a regional distributor, and Iowa is under the Toyota manufacturer directly. So Southeast Toyota Distributors buys their cars from Toyota, and then they sell their cars to us dealers in the Southeast region. So, but it does sound familiar. I probably met him at a national meeting or something.
Small world.
Yeah. Do we have a quick time for, I know we're almost out of time, but Big Dog Ranch Rescue has been remiss in not getting us a video for a dog. And we spoke to them before the show, and they're going to be back providing us with a video for Big Dog Ranch Rescue again next week. And it's very important to us because Big Dog Ranch Rescue is the biggest no-kill shelter of any shelter in the world. I mean, certainly the United States. They keep dogs there for years and years. They don't euthanize the dogs, and they desperately need to find homes. So if you can foster a dog for a couple of weeks, or you can adopt a dog, we pay the adoption fees, which are about $200. They have sometimes they have sales for less, but Big Dog Ranch Rescue, they're in actually Loxahatchee, Florida. Look at the website, bigdogranchrescue.com or bdrr.com, bigdogrescue.com.
.org.
.org, I'm sorry, .org, O-R-G, yeah. Okay, I think we're ready to wrap it up.
We have a couple of minutes left.
Oh, do we?
Want
Okay, well, let me go
to pick
do
up
it.
one of those copies that you shared with me this morning?
Yeah, I touched on this last week, but it's an interesting fact of life. In fact, I touched on it earlier talking about the Cadillac Escalade. Just because a car is not a great car and gets a lot of high scores by Consumer Reports doesn't mean that you're going to love it. Nancy and I love our Tesla, and quality-wise, it can't hold a candle to other type cars with combustion engines. It's not as reliable, but we love it. So when we tell you don't buy this car, buy what you love. I mean, if you can afford the additional repairs, additional insurance, go ahead and buy it. The best cars, the owner satisfaction, the highest owner satisfaction is on the Rivian electric vehicle. I mean, a lot of you wouldn't buy those on a bet. The Mini, the BMW. So drive the car, look at the facts, look at the reliability, look at the cost of ownership, but also look at, do you love the car? You buy a car because you want to have fun. You want to enjoy your car. So check Consumer's Report, and you can find out not only which is the least expensive, the most reliable, but also the one that you love the most.
Yeah, March edition, your top-rated cars, SUVs, and trucks. So pick it up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. We enjoy your company, and we'll be right back here next week at 8 a.m., same time, same station. Have a great weekend.